Good afternoon and welcome to Thriving Thursday. I am Mary Beth Landy. I'm the senior trainer and recruitment and support specialist for RTSC, the Recruitment Training and Support Center at the Federation, and we are sponsoring Thriving Thursday. So today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about parenting in the pandemic, but let me first add that we at the Federation are open. We are working remotely, so we are still available to be able to answer any questions that you might have about special education or any mass health questions, medical questions. You can go to our our website at www.fcsn.org, and there is an intake form, an online intake form that you can fill out asking your questions. Those will be passed on to the appropriate individuals and they will get back to you as quickly as possible. So please feel free to reach out to us and utilize our services during this time. So let's talk a little bit about parenting during quarantine or during the pandemic. I know this is a challenging time for everyone. There's a combination of a lot of things happening in one's life. We thought before that parenting children was challenging enough, particularly if we are working. But now having all of the kids at home at the same time, if you have more than one kid, is can definitely add to the difficulties. So I think one of the things that's important to take a look at are expectations. What are our expectations and the possibility that some of those expectations may change? Some of you may be familiar with Dr. Ross Greene. Dr. Greene was the founder of Collaborative and Proactive Solutions. He is located in Maine, in Portsmouth, Maine, right now, and Portland, Maine. Wrong town, wrong state. Um, but he is working closely with the Federation on helping us devise some ways to be able to handle children during their challenging times. So you might be interested in looking him up. He can be found at his uh, organization is called livesinthebalance.org, and you can find out more information about collaborative and proactive systems from him. But one of the things that he really talks about that I take to heart and have when I was raising my children was expectations. And he thinks of it as a three basket system: basket A, basket B, basket C. With basket A being the things that are really essential, necessary, such as safety, that we are not going to be riding our bike without a helmet. It's a non-negotiable situation. So that would be something that you would keep in what's called basket A. Basket C are the things that when you really think about them, are the little things that you need to take a look at and decide, I'm willing to let go on this because right now I have bigger fish to fry. Taking a look at what's something that is not necessarily a large thing to worry about. If it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon and your child wants to have a snack because they're hungry, they may not make the best choice in what they choose to eat if they have the option of picking their own. And maybe that's just not worth the battle of deciding whether it's going to be pretzels or it's going to be an apple. Um, it's a picking your battles type of situation. And then basket B are the things that you can negotiate on or accept that you need to have or have expectations of it getting accomplished, and that you're going to negotiate with your children about how to go through and do that. And some of the things I want to talk about are things that you could possibly put in the basket B situation. Um, and one of the things that I want to talk a little bit about some of those expectations. I think that while being in quarantine during this pandemic, people thought, oh, I'll have some extra time on my hands. So I will be able to have extra time with my partner. And we'll be able to do this and maybe have some date nights that we don't necessarily have because we don't have to deal with the commute, And that hasn't happened. And that can be a challenge for some people. Again, it's a matter of thinking that this might happen and it hasn't. So are there some creative ways rather than have trying to plan on having dinner? Could you have a breakfast together that you could have before the kids are even up? Because I'm sure the kids love to sleep in at this point. um, Maybe having lunch together. I happen to work from home full time. That is, I'm not in the Boston office, so I work from my office in Greenfield. My fiance also works from the same office, and so occasionally we would have lunch together, sit down lunch as opposed to eating over our desks, and that was our time to spend together. Um, you think that you have more time on your hands to get those projects done. And the reality is, for most people, that we are talking about times when you are uh, talking about a lot of Zoom meetings or checking in with people. When you're in an office situation, it's easy to walk by someone's office and just quickly ask them a question. Now it's a series of emails or it's a Zoom meeting that has to get set up. And there's actually Zoom fatigue, that it is harder to communicate through Zoom because it's hard to understand body language and things if you're only seeing someone's head. So remember the fact that you don't have as much energy, even though you may feel like you have a little bit more time, you may not necessarily have the energy because you're dealing with so many other things taken care of. Children's behavior and their attention span. Children want to be entertained, and mainly you are the primary entertainer in your house. Um, and when that child you send them off to do something, to play for a while, you may find that they're coming back around saying I'm bored more often, and that may actually lead to some um, behavioral issues, that when you say I can't play with you right now, they get upset. So take into to consideration that they have shorter attention spans, possibly not shorter than mine, but shorter attention spans. And keep that into consideration when you are looking at what type of activities you're going to have your children get involved in. So that you don't set up an activity that you become very frustrated because they lose interest very quickly. It's just very natural for them. So finding things that you could do that are quick and they can see an end result from is great. Um, Children's behavior, they're dealing with a lot of anxiety, a lot of unknown. So certainly right now it is a situation where they are more on edge, and a little bit more unsettled about things, and take that into to consideration when planning on certain things. Um, Take a look at their sleep schedule. Schedule and routine is very important for children, um, even though they will argue that with you. Um, it's important that they can maintain a good sleep schedule, that they're not staying up late, getting up late, that they can keep, particularly during times when they are still expected to be doing homework and schoolwork, that those things are um, taken into consideration, because distance learning, there's realities with it. It is harder to do. They're not getting the same type of attention that they would be getting in classes. It's harder for teachers to maintain the attention span. I know that many teachers will say how many pets they have had in their Zoom classes or Google Classrooms, because that's where the student's attention span goes to whatever in the room around them. Um, Taking a look around your house. You may have lived in a very neat and organized house before the pandemic, and now you're finding with everybody home, it's much harder to maintain. I like to consider those houses lived in. Our house is a house that is lived in. As soon as our 11-year-old comes home, everything gets plopped at the front door, and shoes get kicked off there, and never things don't necessarily make it to where they're supposed to, or cleaning up gets a little bit harder, and it takes a little bit more patience. Um, again, it's a battle of how much do I want to, is that a battle that I want to pick, of having to go back and have my child pick up their things? Or is it easier for me just to pick up the backpack and hang it on the hook that they seem to have missed as they were walking through the door? So, and keeping an eye on screen time. I think that that's an important thing. They have to do screen time for certain activities, but how much screen time do they have to do um, with just watching videos, movies, things like that? Again, it's a matter of you finding your comfort zone for that, and will make your life as a parent much easier if you can come to some balance with that. I think balance is the key to everything. You're trying to balance work, if you're still working and working remotely, to balancing things out with your children. So let your children be part of the decision and the discussion of what's appropriate as far as a lot of these things. How much screen time do they have around distance learning, or do they have to do, a half hour of math before they can get a half hour of screen time? And let them have some of the discussion. You'd be amazed some of the answers that come up with that. And that seems to help for a lot of parents to be able to at least step away from some of the things and say, it's not something I'm going to pick on right now. So hopefully that's been helpful. I encourage you to join us again tomorrow for Fact Friday, and keep abreast of what's happening by visiting our Facebook page and check out our frequently asked questions. Anything that we can do to help you, remember, please reach out to us. Again, I am Mary Beth Landy, and it has been a pleasure joining you today. So thank you and have a good day.